Hi, welcome to this video and welcome back to my simulator. Recently I did a video on holds with Microsoft Flight Simulators 787 and the Heavy mod. Now, I mentioned in that video that you had to have a waypoint in your flight path to add a hold to. But a question got asked, what about if ATC give you a holding point that's not in the flight path? Now, that doesn't normally happen with the built-in ATC, but I guess it could happen with VATSIM. So let's have a look at how we do that. Right, so first things first, let's have a look at our flight. This is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be flying from LaGuardia down here, and it's just a very short flight, probably something that would never happen, but we're taking the 787 up here to Martha's Vineyard. Now if we look at Martha's Vineyard, it actually has a holding pattern just to the south as part of the ILS approach. So if we add the ILS approach, we can see that holding pattern down here. But let's say as post go around, they decide they want you to hold over here, so we can add a hold here. We're just going to add a basic hold just for the purpose of this experiment, but it's sort of removed, so we'd have to add a post point. So we'd also have to right click and append a waypoint to the flight plan. So now it's got that as an appended waypoint after the go around. So we'll just remove the hold, and we will remove that point from over here, and we'll redo the ILS approach. So I'll add the ILS approach back in. There we go. So now we'll say, for example, we're flying along and ATC want us to do a holding pattern around this point up here, Oodle. So let's say they want us to do that. We'll add our holding point up here. I'm going to make that about 100 degrees actually, just so that it's closer to heading over here to the start of the ILS approach. So we'll add that in. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to add this point now. We're going to add as a waypoint. So there you go, it's automatically added it in the right spot. And I'm going to remove the waypoint there where it actually heads over Martha's Vineyard. And that will now give us a deviation up here into a holding pattern, and then we can carry straight out of that holding pattern onto I think it's this waypoint here, Choppy, and we would then be able to do our ILS approach into Martha's Vineyard. So that's how you'd map it out on Little Navi Map, but let's go and see how we do that in the simulator. Of course, when we add the waypoint and the hold, we'll have to do it in the opposite order in the plane. Right, we've just been advised by ATC that there's an issue at Martha's Vineyard, and they're requesting that we do a holding pattern at Oodle. So we need to add Oodle to our flight plan here. So let's add that. Ooh.
Just
have to have a look in the flight planner here actually, make sure we pick the right one. Yep, there we go. Looks about right. Okay, so we will execute that. So now we have a new flight path. We're going to have a hold at Oodle. Alright, so now we're going to hold Oodle.
Boston Center, generic November 9er, 769er, X-ray is at flight level 210, climbing flight level 240.
So 4-minute hold.
Please expedite your descent, 7,000 feet.
We want to do it at 102 degrees and a left turn.
Generic 6, 8 Honda, please expedite your descent, 9,000 feet. Airbus 087, please expedite your descent, 2,000 feet. Generic 180, contact Boston Center on
Should be about right. I'll execute that. So a quick look how that looks.
Boston Center, November 06, 25 Bravo is at flight level 235, climbing flight level 240.
Okay, we've got our holding pattern now here
Please expedite your descent, 7,000 feet.
at Oodle, so we'll be right.
November 06, 25 Bravo, Boston Center, continue as planned. Generic 6, 8 Honda, please expedite your descent, 9,000 feet. Airbus 087, please expedite your descent, 2,000 feet.
We'll add our approach after. Actually, we'll add our approach now.
4,000 feet.
ILS 24.
Generic November 20.
Add that in. Let's have a look at what that looks like. There's a route inconsistency there, of course. And we will fix that. We'll go from choppy to Oodle. There we go. Execute that. And so now, step through. There's our top of descent calculated. We'll go to Oodle for our hold. And then on the completion of that hold, we will fly to choppy and then do our ILS approach into 24. So we'll come back when we're close. Right, well, we've begun our descent. Now we're heading down to 13,000 feet at the moment. To take that out of standard. And as we approach the runway, of course, we'll well, actually no, we can't. We've got to go into our holding pattern, at least until ATC tell us otherwise. We're going to have to use maximum auto braking because it is a short runway at Martha's Vineyard. I think we're pre-landing checklist is complete. Strap them in back there. Check fuel. And we've got plenty of fuel. Okay, we've been informed we can break out of our holding pattern and fly the approach. So we need to skip Oodle and go straight to Choppy. We're going to do that. So there's no more there. Choppy, we want to be at 160, 150 at there, and we will check our approach speed. 30 degrees, 140 knots. We'll choose that. We'll go back to our legs, 140, 180, and 200 round clamming. Choppy to the top again and execute. That'll program all the speeds in. Excellent. So now we go back. We can now start slowing down, basically. One IS to 220. I'm actually going to jump to B Bay when we're about 2 nautical miles from Choppy. That way we can begin our turn early. Okay, I think that's close enough. We will jump B Bay and execute that. Start making our turn. And we will switch to the approach. Well, there you go. That's how you add holding patterns to waypoints that aren't part of your flight path. If you're given them by ATC or, say, VATSIM, something like that. That's normally not going to happen in the built-in ATC, but you never know. We also looked at an example like Martha's Vineyard, where there's an actual holding pattern that's at the go-around point as part of the ILS approach that's built in. So I'm glad you stuck around to the end. I hope you get something out of this. If you've got any more questions or concerns, please post them in the comments, and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and stick around for future videos on tips and tricks. I don't just do flight simulators, but there you go. So anyway, you all look after each other, you take care, and be kind to one another, and I'll see you on the next episode of Tips and Tricks.